All right, here we are streaming live on July 26th, going off a bunch of new QAnon posts, but really talking about the biggest sting in history. This is an update to one I did around 3 months ago, right, where with the new information that we have, I really believe that, again, Rod Rosenstein and Robert Mueller are part of the biggest thing in history. So this has been vacillating back and forth. I'm convinced now, and one of the posts that we just are going to review right now, I think, verify this. So anyway, hopefully my sound is working this time. We're on take 2. If you ever want to see me live, you do have to have your notification bell right next to the subscribe button. There's a little bell, and you need to make sure that says all on it, all notifications, and then obviously your device needs to be having YouTube come to the front screen. So anyway, we'll be looking at the biggest sting in history here, QAnon post. So I'll make sure I'm streaming live here real quick, because I went live a second ago with no sound, and thank goodness people were telling me what was going on. But I tell you what, we have so much to cover here. Some of the most exciting, this is going to be one of the most exciting, I think, broadcasts I've done as far as the fun that I'm having with this. Just looking at, wow, look at what's going on. The last few days have just been huge. So let's get into this right now. Just want to make sure that I am live and going well. Looks like, just trying to refresh the stream here. Darn it. I might have to do one more thing. It says 143 watching now, but I'm getting nothing on the pop-up chat. So I probably had to bring up a different window real quick. So bear with me as I just quickly do this, because I'm sure people are posting on it, but I can't see it. There I go. Okay, now I can see it. All right, guys. Thanks for that little pause. Here we go. We are talking the biggest thing in history, Mockingbird, media, etc., right? Now, I'm all the way back in October 28th because I grabbed a trip code, which I'm going to do later time. But let's go up to the front of QAnon. Look what's happening in today's day, where we're talking about all kinds of fun things. And I'm going to be talking a lot about the history of QAnon.pub and why Mueller might be a gray hat or working with the white hats, right? People think I'm crazy when I talk about this sometimes, but I really need to get into this. And the post today, the first one, I think confirms my theory I've been talking about for quite some time. So on November 14th, we see QAnon talking about how do you capture a very dangerous animal. Do you attack it from the front? Do you walk through the front door? Do you signal ahead of time you will be attacking? How do you distinguish between good and bad? Who do you trust to keep secrets? How do you prevent leaks? But this is the biggest one I want to focus on. Right there, those 3 lines. How do you capture a very dangerous animal? Do you attack it from the front? Do you walk through the front door? How do you do it? And what you'll see here as we dig into it, it'll be quite exciting. And I'm going to see one more time. We're going to look at Mueller real quick, and then we're going to get right into today's post, because I know there's a bunch of exciting posts, but these are all very applicable to what I'm talking about. So if I look at Mueller and come up here and you go Control F and you type in Mueller again, right? 37 matches. I hit the back key. It goes to the first one. What is Mueller's background? Military, right? So we've reviewed this before for those of you who've been watching me. Why did Mueller meet POTUS one day prior to the FBI announcement if Mueller could not be offered the director due to previous term limits rule? Well, it was me. Obviously, he was meeting with Mueller for a different reason, right? So let's just kind of keep going through these real quick. This is important. You look at, because we're going to come right to today's post, right? Republican distortion of facts to remove Mueller. POTUS free pass. This is when they're talking about the narrative and 4 a.m. talking points, right? Trying to make sure that they were slamming Trump at every minute. Here we got Mueller fake news, Russia, right? And it talks all about, he's in here quite a bit. Falsified fake Mueller drops. And so but now we're back into January. Firing Rod Rosenstein equals blocking Mueller. Firing Rod Rosenstein set up to firing Mueller. Firing Rod Rosenstein equals a red line. They said no. So the deep state trusts Rod Rosenstein. They trust Mueller. They think that's what's going to help them. It's the whole, what I think is the movie going on right now. And and I'm not going to read all of these because it'll take too long, but you can see it's very obviously Mueller is a key piece of this. Rod Rosenstein actually being put up for impeachment these last time. Rudy met with Mueller today. Now we got Rudy meeting with him as we go back through time here. Now we're all the way up into Mueller, and they're talking about Special Counsel Robert Mueller had been on the White House short list to run the FBI. Was that real? Of course it wasn't. He couldn't be that. So he was meeting with him for a different reason. Mueller report will contradict per Brennan's tweet today. So Brennan basically saying that Trump's going to jail type thing, and the Mueller report's always, the result of the Mueller report has done nothing but expose crimes on the other side, right? It hasn't reported any type of crime on Trump, right? Mueller and Uranium One, I think that's why they were able to get him on. They have all the goods. They have everything. They have all the goods on Mueller. They have all the goods on Rosenstein. So they know, yes, they are dirty, but they to save their own hides, they're having to work with Trump. Now, why do I think that? Some of them is because of the most recent posts that we're going to be seeing here in a second. And here, most people turn to this, and this is what even Neon Revolt basically saying, okay, this does it. Based on the post yesterday or drops yesterday from QAnon, they're saying because he repeated these, right? So this was a couple of months ago. He put, if Rod Rosenstein is dirty, Mueller must also be dirty. If Mueller is dirty, Rod Rosenstein must also be dirty. So if that is fact and not disinformation, based on what we've seen with Rosenstein, everybody's going, oh my goodness, that does it. It's definitely the worst of the worst, right? That he is definitely dirty. Rod Rosenstein recused, fired. Who has direct oversight of Mueller? A lot of discussions about once he's replaced, who's gonna be his replacement, right? Now we're getting into July, into late June here. Define the role of Mueller, right? And so he's obviously very key to this whole thing, and I think it's the biggest thing in history. Why? Now I'm going to get to today's post. Here it is. This is the first one on July 26th today. This says, he's got a big article here, starting with this 1Z thing here, right? And I already had it opened up, so we'll grab that here in a second. But it basically talked about a Republican, Gohmert, actually just slamming Mueller about how bad he is, right? But look what it says after that. This is the exciting part to me, is that it's talking about this being clickbait. So this is a long article. I've read most of it, went through it here, and it basically really rips Mueller up badly about he's always really after putting the person away as a vicious prosecutor, even if he has to frame people or bribe people or whatever, right? And it goes on and on and on, and I really encourage you to go read that. But what does QAnon tell us afterwards? He says, what was the point of filing impeachment art if Ryan was going to reject? Known beforehand? Optics. So this is what Q does a lot. He answers his questions. Think logically. I'll read through all this and come back to it. Could Sessions publicly challenge Rod Rosenstein without creating a dilemma? What events could immediately transpire if Sessions challenged Rod Rosenstein? Would it immediately demonstrate that Sessions must be aware of key Mueller facts or failure of duty that he cannot possibly know if recused, facts, a case he is supposed to be recused from? Think logically. One challenge to Rod Rosenstein would immediately trigger attacks to remove Sessions, given his clear involvement in receiving information regarding a case he is fully recused from. Who does Hubert directly report to? Is it normal Rod Rosenstein is sidestepped regarding Huber's COC? Why is this important? Why did Sessions recuse? Is the left attacking Sessions? What advantages exist based on this setup? POTUS publicly expresses his anger regarding his recusal. Do you believe POTUS would allow a complete takeover of his DOJ if nothing was not being done behind the scenes to hold people accountable? When POTUS states the swamp is being drained, do you believe it? When POTUS states it's happening, do you believe it? Do you believe POTUS would allow Sessions and Rod Rosenstein to run his DOJ if something wasn't being done to his liking? Logical thinking. Clickbait derails logical thought. Think for yourself. Mueller investigating POTUS tweets for obstruction. You have a front row seat. Enjoy the show. Q. Let's drain this. To me, this is one of the most important tweets I think we've had to date. Wrapping a lot of things together, speculation about this. Even Neon Revolt yesterday was saying, hey, based upon the fact that he just said, and if I look at this Mueller thing right here again, and I do a search, I'm gonna just type it in. I'm gonna go Mueller and go this way this time. We just got a bunch of them this post, right? But if I go to the next one, how large is Mueller's team? 2025 versus 470, right? And just on, it's not going to show me it. It basically repeated that if Rod Rosenstein is dirty, then you know that Mueller's dirty, right? If Mueller's dirty, then you know Rod Rosenstein is dirty. So those are made a lot of people go, okay, I give up. Mueller is a bad guy. Rosenstein's a bad guy. So they're black hats. I don't think so. Based on this post, I think it's verified. So let's dig into that, right? Okay. So here's my thinking. What was the point of filing impeachment arc if Ryan was going to reject known beforehand optics? He answers his own question because they knew beforehand that Ryan was not going to move forward with impeachment, but for optics reasons, they knew beforehand. For optics reasons, that's why they're doing this. The full weight of the House is coming in asking for impeachment. The full weight of the House is asking for transparency, right? This will set up the eventual unredacting and unclassifying all this information. But we're leaking it out one step at a time, all this information that we know of the corruption to inform the public, knowing that we have a fake news media that's trying to twist everything. So they're just like the WikiLeaks. The amount of information that just came out one piece by one piece by one piece doesn't allow. They can't do false flags every day, right? So think logically. He's really getting us think logically. Obviously, the whole plan was around this. They knew this was going to happen. Okay? Could Sessions publicly challenge Rod Rosenstein, who was without creating a dilemma? The answer is no, of course. Right, so this whole next part is that Mueller recused himself. It was part of the plan because everybody expected him to be that Flynn and he were going to be the ones attacking. The deep state took out Flynn. They would have taken out and attacked Sessions. They're not attacking Sessions right now. Why? Because Trump's talking bad about him. Anybody Trump talks bad about, the deep state likes. That's just the way it is right now. And then Sessions actually comes back out and supports Rod Rosenstein, supports Ryan for not moving forward with impeachment proceedings. Why? Because this is the show. This is the show. I'll show you here as we go. Facts of failure, duty, right? That's why, because he's recused himself. Sessions recused himself. That's what all this stuff's about. And now, who is Huber directly report to? I said last night it was eventually to Sessions, but his direct report is Rod Rosenstein. So if there's 40,000 sealed indictments that Huber's doing and his direct boss is Rod Rosenstein, you do not think he knows about that? Do you really think that? Listen, is it normal Rod Rosenstein is sidestepped regarding Huber COC? No. Why is this important? Why did Sessions recuse? It's because they wanted to attack the wild animal by surprise. Is the left attacking Sessions? No, because Trump is talking bad about him. What advantage exists based on this setup? Because the left is all supporting Mueller, supporting Rod Rosenstein, making themselves look like fools, allowing us to release the information in a planned-oriented fashion. POTUS publicly expresses his anger at his recusal. That's part of the show. Do you believe POTUS would allow a complete takeover of his DOJ if nothing was being done behind the scenes to hold people accountable? There's the big question. This to me makes it so obvious. these next three questions, right? Do you believe POTUS would allow a complete takeover as DOJ if nothing was being done behind the scenes to hold people accountable? No. So what's happening is Rosenstein and Mueller had to get a deal from Trump. And they are now acting as if they're on the deep state side. At the same time, they are leaking the information. All these retractions. I mean, they're basically allowing pieces of the documents to come out one piece at a time, and then we get less redactions and less redactions, and it just shows more and more corruption on the part of the deep state. Now, do I think Rod Rosenstein and Mueller were part of the deep state? Yes. Do I think they are now? I think that the deep state thinks they are, and I think that they're working with Horowitz and Trump and the whole takedown with the 40,000 sealed indictments. That's the exciting part about this. Gosh, I hate it when these things come up and open on me. So here's all my notifications that I have always coming at night, and I've got to close those down because the time I'm with you guys is about the same time now. So here we go. When POTUS states the swamp is being drained, do you believe it? Well, if you think Rod Rosenstein is bad and that he's holding those redactions and they're not able to move forward with you would be very, very frustrated right now. But don't be, because this is part of the plan. When POTUS states the swamp is being drained, do you believe it? When POTUS states it's happening, do you believe it? It's happening. He's attacking the Federal Reserve. Information's coming out every day. Now everybody's going, oh my goodness, what did Sessions do? Talking good about Rosenstein. How could that be possible? But then we have clickbait to keep the left off guard. Do you believe POTUS would allow Sessions and Rod Rosenstein to run his DOJ if he wasn't being done anything to his liking? So that's another exact great question. Do you believe POTUS would allow Sessions and Rod Rosenstein to run his DOJ if something wasn't being done to his liking? Very similar to one about right here about being held accountable. Logical thinking. Clickbait derails logic. What's the clickbait? We just saw it. The clickbait is this big, huge article that came out today by Congressman Louis Gohmert. That's one of the pieces of clickbait. There was another piece of clickbait, too, that he's going to mention. Special Counsel Mueller reportedly examining Trump's tweets for potential obstruction of justice. This came out today, 9 hours ago. So, and Giuliani laughed at this. If you're going to obstruct justice, you don't do it in the public, obviously, right? This would be unheard of. It's clickbait. This is clickbait. That's my interpretation of this. I know a lot of people will have different. Think for yourself. It's saying. Think what is it? What's the clickbait? That's my opinion. Trust yourself. I mean, I'm trusting myself, guys. Here, I'm going out on a limb because everything I've looked at does not come to this conclusion I'm coming to. You have a front row seat, right? Mueller investigating POTUS tweets for obstruction. He just talked about clickbait. Mueller's investigating POTUS tweets for obstruction. I just showed you it right there. That's clickbait. Right there, that's clickbait. Clickbait for what? The show. It keeps the left off guard. They think Rosenstein's on their side. They think Mueller's on their side, but they're actually working with Horowitz, who reports to Rod Rosenstein. He's talking bad about Sessions as part of the show. So the silent executioner is going to take them all down. I believe all the information, because everybody that Mueller attacks has massive dirt on them with Hillary, as well as has some type of association with Trump. So they used a little association with Trump to advertise all that, and the fake news media goes all over that piece. Now, Dan Bongino would say that's because they're trying to tell him to shut up about Hillary. It's just the opposite, I believe. That use that excuse to go, even the Cohen information that they grabbed, to grab all the information and all that dirt on the deep state is actually being part of the 40,000 plus sealed indictments. So anyway, that is the most important drop, I think, that we've had to date, clearly showing us that this is how they trap the wild animal. That they are using Rod Rosenstein and they are using Mueller as the greatest sting in history. And so I'm sorry I'm going to get a ton of comments that telling me I'm crazy. But that is my interpretation, and that's me thinking for myself. I may be wrong. I will eat crow if that's not the case. Right? So now if I go back here and I go to here and I clear this out, we'll get to the rest of the post today. There was 5 or 6 more that were exciting. This is clearing out for me. So guys, as I started this, it really messed up everything. I do apologize. So here we are. So these are 17, 18 was the last post we can see. So we're going to go down and see the rest of these that posted. Come on, puppy. Come on for me. 1887. 87. What is this doing to me? Do apologize, guys. We'll get there. There we go. 1717. Here we are. So this is, again, July 26th, new post from QAnon. And that was, to me, the most exciting one ever right there, July 25th. Now, another real exciting one yesterday, I just wanted to make sure you knew, was just Facebook going down, right? There's a lot of people saying that, obviously, something big about to drop was going to be about the show Big with Tom Hanks and all this. Obviously, what he was alluding to, what was the big about to drop was the Facebook stock. So there's another QAnon proof for you. He knew the Facebook stock was going to drop. And boom, it did. Right? So another awesome thing. That's what that meant. Relevant today, news unlocks Q. And this was the whole thing that we went over last night about some pretty exciting things here about Ryan still in office. Why is Ryan leaving office? Who controls Ryan? Autists engaged, right? And so this was relevant because of the impeachment that actually was filed, right? A recommendation for impeachment. Now, Ryan, surprisingly, so everybody's going, what is going on with that, right? So now here we are on this post that we just drained heavily, right? Because I think that's one of the most important posts. Now, he reposted this post that he did yesterday of this supposed deep state threat, right? 1712. And Anon's talking about how they're not scared of Hollywood. This is a gal that was really an anti-Christian, pretty much the typical Hollywood person. But they're saying it's not just her. So Q says, quotes scripture here, Colossians 3:5. Now, there's a lot of people that are saying now, this QAnon movement's being taken over by evangelicals. Well, sorry, Q is an evangelical. He's always quoting scripture. Colossians 3:5. Put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to you, your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. Your evil has no place in this world. Q. So, wow, the evil of Hollywood is a target now, right? We know the Nexium sex cult that's linked to all this with Keith Reiner and Allison Mack, and 3 more arrests just happened here recently of the Bronsmans, right? So they are going down, and then they put out this message to the Anons is that if you look at this really carefully, it says, stand the F down. A little more graphic language. But Colossians 3:5, put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature. Sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, grace. Sorry, my background's going off. Evil desires and greed, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. Colossians 3:5. Your evil has no place in this world. Q. That's big stuff. Big warning to Hollywood. But now, look at this. This Anon says that's a proven shop. Talking about Photoshop. And Q confirms that. Says the author of the post, the face is never the author. Director comms come in many different forms. Q. So in other words, she's a puppet. She's a stupid Hollywood elite that's involved in a lot of bad things. And that's all coming out now, right? But she's just a puppet compared to this, who's controlling that, the author of this. That's 1713. 1714 says, I suspect this from the beginning. And Anon's talking about that. Shops don't mean the post isn't real. So the fact that it was photoshopped in some way doesn't mean that the photo isn't real. Now, they could have been taking the wrinkles out of her face or whatever, right? So, because you have those apps on there that could actually do that, right? So, exactly what they're talking about. But now, here is Q giving us a whole nother dimension to all his pictures potentially. How do you hide a message in clear sight? Q. People are going, now what is that? And he tells us a little bit later in a later post, right? So that's 1714. And then you look at 1715 and it says, how do you hide a message in clear sight? Q posting that same one. It says, you'd be amazed how much is shared on political boards, data exchange. And then he links to this pixel knot thing. So you can go look at that pixel knot deal, and it's actually a full article on how to basically hide codes and messages within pictures. And that's how you hide a message in clear sight. So people were talking about that code, that big code before. Could that have been an activation code for one of the pictures? So Anons are now searching through all the pictures, past pictures that QAnon has posted, and looking at this picture of, the threat and seeing where these hidden messages are, because QAnon's posting to hidden messages, which is really cool, right? 1716. And he basically says, thank you, Jeff Sessions, right? This article is about the Wall Street Journal. And I'm going to go ahead and open it from here versus trying to grab the other one since it was being slow. But this 1716 actually shows this article. A capable U.S. attorney is far better choice than a second special counsel. And now this is just coming back and cementing in our mind that the Huber choice with the 425 people of the Inspector General of Horowitz working with Huber out of Utah is a very potent a potent combination. We've seen several articles. This is another one I hadn't seen before, April 2nd, partially because I don't have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. But there's a link that Q actually posted there, just again reaffirming that the whole Sessions silent executioner mode and trust Sessions is all those 40,000 sealed indictments working with Horowitz behind the scenes to make all this happen. Again, he's recused himself from the Russian collusion of Trump, but it doesn't mean he can't be working on the Russian collusion with Hillary, right? And the DNC and the deep state and Comey and McCabe and all the criminals, right? All the compromised people, all those 40,000 sealed indictments going through with Horowitz and Huber. Again, that is by far the fastest way to do something significant before the elections, significant to be able to release a lot of this information as they do criminal referrals. And obviously Huber is a prosecutor outside of D.C. He can actually seek the death penalty. He's got a lot of power. And so this is another article to confirm that the biggest thing in history is actually happening, right? 1717. Do you understand what is happening? Another article here about Meadows swaps Rosenstein impeachment efforts for contempt, right? So he basically, Meadows pulls out of doing that and saying, okay, I'm not going to be asking for impeachment any longer, even though he did it just the day before. So optically, oh my goodness, the left is panicking. We have to have Rosenstein. He's our savior. So it's Rosenstein is our savior, the criminal deep state with Mueller. So they're just holding on to this. And he backs off impeaching Rosenstein after leadership talks, right? So the show's continuing is all what's going on here. Do you understand what is happening? Think optics. Now, if he's saying, why would he say optics? If Rosenstein was dirty, and if Mueller was dirty, and they were in the past, right now continuing to work for the deep state, why would he keep talking about optics? Right now, you could be saying, well, because the president doesn't want to look like when all the arrests happen, that he is, involved heavily, and that's true, right? But it also means that there's a movie going on here. Him talking bad about Sessions is a movie. Trump actually staying backside and letting the two surprise people, Rosenstein and Mueller, feed information to Horowitz and Huber for the silent executioner of Jeff Sessions to take out all these criminals. The biggest thing in history is right behind us. Right before us right now. 1718. I think this is the last one. we have for today. Yep. And this is 100% regulated. Some platforms will collapse under own weight of illegal activities. Q. This is all the way back in March. He was talking about that the social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook and Reddit, who are censoring and basically discriminating against libertarians, against conservatives, and track inside sales divestitures, they know, watch the sell-off liquidity events. So they know they're going down. They know they're going down. And even today, as we'll get into some of the news, right, you see Trump talking about shadow banning of Republicans or conservatives, right? He knows it's going on. So Facebook investors want to strip Zuckerberg of chairman title. That was some barons. Shareholder wants to oust Zuckerberg as Facebook chairman. That's some fortune. Facebook shareholders tried to fire Mark Zuckerberg as chairman, the Daily Mail. And this says DC moves slow. So my interpretation of that is that the stock market can take down Facebook a lot faster than you can by regulating and trying to get the Internet Bill of Rights associated with these companies. Just the sheer weight of the corruption being and the lawsuits can work a lot faster than DC, right? And so those are the posts. And I'm telling you, this is exciting. Trump's taking on the Federal Reserve. Pray for him, though. You know, when JFK started printing his own treasury bills, our own, versus the Federal Reserve. So I got some great stuff to show you guys with Neon Revolt and some other things. I could do a 2-hour show tonight, but I'm just going to clip through this pretty quick here. But this is exciting. We have the biggest thing in history happening right now with Rosenstein and Mueller working with the White Hats, I believe. So let's dig into this here. We've got the Meadows doing that. I showed you that. We talked about the trust sessions and trust what we're doing with Mueller. Clickbait with the Mueller Unmasked by Louis Gourmet. A very long article talking about how bad Mueller is, which is and the deep state's going, yeah, he's bad. Go after Trump. Yeah, no matter what, even if he's innocent, go after him. Yeah. And that's exactly what the deep state wants to hear, right? Now, if you move over to here, you have something I just have to show you. This is so cool. This is the American Empire and its media. So those of you who know that I'm reading that book with you guys that talks about the killing of Uncle Sam, talks about real significantly how the New World Order was started by Cecil Rhodes, went with the Rothschilds, then J.P. Morgan and Carnegie got involved, and then the Rockefellers got involved, and they created this Council of Foreign Relations in 1921 that really became this control mechanism with all the elites, where they controlled all of America in their education system, etc. Now we know back all the way in here in the Bilderberg meeting started in 1954 too. So 1954 and 1921. But this is where the New World Order really took control of the United States. They already had control of the banking. So now they took control of the education systems. They could control all the politicians, the Secretary of State positions, all the CIA directors, all the heads of the Federal Reserve, all came from the CFR. If you see anybody on the Council on Foreign Relations, they are part of the New World Order. That's all there is to it. And if you look at the Bilderberg meetings as well as the Trilateral Commission that started in 1973, you'll see how they have complete control over the media. And this is a great graphic that I'll connect it. You guys can go look at it in more detail. And it talks about all these types of slate and U.S. News and New York, and it says this number one guy right here is New York Daily News and U.S. News and World Report. Number one is this Mortimer B. Zuckerman, publisher. So that guy right there, he's actually linked to all three. Look, there's three things on him. So he's goes to Bilderberg. He's part of the CFR, and he's also part of the Trilateral Communication. So this is how they literally, you'll see they're linked. This person's linked to two of them. This one's linked to one of them. These persons are linked to two of them. Even Fox News here. Look at this. So Robert Murdoch, he's linked to both the Bilderberg as well as the CFR. So between these three organizations, everybody that owns these media are linked to them. All the leaders, every one of them, are controlled by these puppet strings of the Trilateral Commission, of the Council for Foreign Relations, and the Bilderberg meetings, right? And even look at this. Even you can see like even some of these favorites of ours potentially are also linked. To see the CC is the CFR, right? Obviously the links to each one of them you can see. And obviously the B would be the Bilderberg, the C is the CFR, and the Trilateral Commission, I think they're using a T for that. But we can actually look at each one of these and go look at the name. So they have for instance, if you want to look at Fox News as an example, still controlled by the New World Order. 25 through 29, you'll see they're all C's with one F's. And so 23, so I go down here to 23, and I can see Fox News even has, 25 was Maria Barromo, the news anchor, and she goes to the CFR still. She's still New World Order, right? It's crazy when you look at this. 26 is Heather Nart, former news host. Dan, senior commentator. Trish Reagan, television host. Linda Vester, former news host. And the Wall Street Journal as well. So every single news organization is controlled by the New World Order organizations. So I'll link to that. You can go look at it in more detail. Now here's some great Neon Revolt post. NeonRevolt.com. Then he goes back all the way to the 24th, a couple days ago. And if you look through this is where he thought Big was going to be referring to the Tom Hanks Big movie. I don't think it was. I think it was referring, and I think he thinks so as well, that it was to the Facebook. Something big is going down, which is the big being Facebook. Now, this is the C to signing C stuff. But there's a couple other things I thought were really cool in here I wanted to show you. Go through this post if you have time. It's quite long and very detailed and a very great analysis of what I went over 2 days ago. And it talks a lot about the problems with the sex thing, the big movies, which there are some interesting correlations with not Tom Hanks. But what I wanted to show you is there's a couple of cool things in here. One what I showed you already was I'm just kind of scrolling through this, so those of you who really want to pause and look at this. But this is cool. I talked about the breaks, the 4, 10, 20 pointing to Donald Trump. 4, 10, 20 being the fourth letter being D, the 10th letter being J, and the 20th letter being Trump. He had 20 days of silence his last time. 20, right? And then he had 10 days here twice. And then here he had 4 days, like 3 times of breaks. So this is an Qanon talks about how many times was Q silent for 4 days. Was it 3? How many times was Q silent for 10 days? Was it 2? How many times was Q silent for 20 days? Once. 3, 2, 1, countdown. So if this is right, 4, 10, 20, Donald J. Trump, blackouts are done. So we may be continuing to get Q posts every day is kind of what this is saying. That would be awesome if that was the case. So that's the main thing I wanted to show you from this post. Go ahead and look at this in more detail if you want to dig into it. It's happening is really a lot of great stuff that we went over 2 days ago. This post is going over that. There's some more detail here that I didn't go over with you in the spirit of time. If you really want to get more detail, this would be the place to go. And I think there was one more thing I wanted to show you out of this very long analysis of the post. A lot of pedophilia. There's the news article I showed you. There's a full size here, but I'm going to link that in my video below. But you also can find it on neonrevolt.com. A bloodless clue they're talking about, a coup, and this is when they honked for the QAnon thing, and this was talking about the sea to shining sea. No coincidences. And this is the last thing I want to show you on this particular post. So it talks about the NXIVM sex cult, right? This is Anon summarizing this. This was interesting. So Claire Bronfman funds NXIVM. Sarah Bronfman marries a guy who happens to be involved with Libyan rebel with Gaddafi. We came, we saw, he died. So there's that Sarah Bronfman. I think she was the one that was holding up the picture, wasn't she? I mean, the back the F off. Ben Bronfman marries musician MIA. MIA seeks effed up stuff done by her in-laws. MIA is an admirer of Julian Assange, gives Julian Assange the goods on Nixium. That's interesting. Remember how he posted Julian Assange tweets hash key on Twitter with a link to MIA's Paper Planes. So basically one of MIA's songs. Julian Assange tweets sent shortly after Trump executive order on trafficking. So on December 21st, they do an executive order. Julian Assange tweets that. And then Ray's, and again, the FBI, Ray's, he says, trust Ray, right? FBI dragnets Nixium pedocultus. Do you believe we have a storm? So this whole thing around Nixium is really interesting, all the way back to the Bromphans who were actually part of it as well as funding it. And link into Julian Assange. So I thought that was amazing stuff. So again, neonrevolt.com. He has 3 posts here. That's why I have enough for 2 hours of material, but I'm not going to have to be able to take the time. Here's another one that he did yesterday, July 25th. Trump declaration of war, the cabal. This is all about the Federal Reserve. So there's a ton of detail in here if you really want to go dig into this and really take one more detailed analysis of it that I don't have time to give you in these hour videos. But if you look back at this, there's this really cool thing right here. It's a graphic I liked. Talks about back in the day, this said silver certificate. Do you see that? The very top line. This is money. It says a silver certificate. This is debt. It says the Federal Reserve note. Federal Reserve note. It's debt. This is how the criminals have taken over our country and our world, with 98% of the central banks being owned by the Rothschilds, right? Or at least private bankers, primarily owned by Rothschilds and their syndicates, right? Now, what's in your wallet? This is money. This is debt. What's in your wallet? What's in our wallet? It's Federal Reserve notes, not silver certificates. It's not money. It's debt is what we have in our pockets, right? I thought that was really well done. And then they even have a little owls in our money now that they've added as part of the New World Order symbolism that they do. And this is when QAnon talked all about these central banks and the Titanic, about part of the way that they got control. There's a great little 8-minute video here you can go look on that does a really good review of the Federal Reserve and the bank. And then I wanted to point you at the bottom of this article, and again, I'll put this in the link in it. They have an awesome video, a little cartoon right here called America's Dream by the Provocateur Network. So you play this. It's about a 26-minute cartoon. Awesome if you really want to learn more about, in a kind of a funny way, the Federal Reserve and how they control us, right? So that's the third article by Neon Revolt is right here, which I'll link as well. Was again yesterday, but I, Anon, do solemnly swear. And the main thing I just wanted to show you here is this is just cool to me, is that when we said that last night on the video, right, there's a lot of Anons that are just taking that pledge. Now there was some, just to back up a little bit, there was, when he said happy days ahead, that people are saying, could it be some of the child pornography in not only Happy Days, but all the other teen type movies? And there's a lot of revealing of the, I guess, the pedo problems in Hollywood. A lot of detail that comes out of that. But what I really wanted to show you was that the Anons really started taking a stand right here. Look at this. And you can't read this very well, but this is just a search on 8chan. Just refreshing here. Is of actually showing, and now it rolls up, but it's actually showing every one of these Anons saying, I, anonymous patriot, do solemnly swear, and basically says the oath of serving the Constitution. So all these Anons that are doing all this hard work with no glory whatsoever are taking that oath that QAnon put up there. I just thought it was so cool. And Anon after Anon after Anon after Anon after Anon after Anon, committing to the Constitution, committing to saving this country, committing to the second American Revolution. Are you? So these guys are working their butts off for us. And I think it's just so cool to see that. Now, there's also, if you go to reddit.com and go to the Great Awakening site, every one of these posts has discussion going on, each one of them. And so if you don't like my analysis, go dig into what everybody's saying about it. And they're talking about Petalwood going down in a huge domino to fall. They thought you would follow the stars. Q. And they're talking about how that's all going down. So and that analyzes 1712 and 1713. Just want to make sure you guys knew that you can go look at these without me while you're waiting for me, etc. at night. You can go look at these. One of my biggest goals is to teach you how to go look at this yourself. And here's Q's post that says, to all Americans, please pray. And there was some analysis done on this, basically talking about this was probably Air Force One. This was talking about an airplane. Could have something to do with Terminal 9, and potentially could have to do with the Turkey preacher being at least released. And at least he's on house arrest, but at least he was released. So those are some of the news that we're getting into. Chan suggesting Q's past photos may have hidden comms. They are following up on this. So I was saying that picture, there might be codes within these pictures. Wait a second, Fags. What if Q is indirectly telling us that we should be looking at his posted pics with this app? You have more than you know. You have it all. Just tossing pasta at the wall. So one of the theories is that QAnon is not going to be posting any classified information. But if the Anons are able to break some code and actually find information to help us, that there's going to be a lot of other information, and we might have it all. You have it all. That would be kind of exciting as we start getting more and more information as the Anons break the code. Here's a 1718 discussion, right? That 100% regulated, talking about DC moving slow, all that type of stuff. Here's a bunch of discussion about it. And so anyone seen a possible news unlock code in this? Is this a clue that Barron's, Fortune, and Daily Mail are the news that unlocks the map? Just a lot of discussion here. So if you have more time than I do, go dig into these and read all these. I can't get through all these comments. Here's that pixel not hidden message program that can go hide things within pictures, right? That QAnon linked to. This is the guy who wrote the actual slam article or the clickbait on how bad Mueller is. Again, he's a Louis Bowler Gourmert Jr. is a Republican Party U.S. representative from Texas. So just a lot of research I was doing on all this. So these were some of these articles about Jeff Sessions defends Rosenstein against GOP impeachment efforts. Just wild stuff, right? And I would be so mad if I didn't have QAnon right now. And that's what's happening. People that just watch Fox News or listen to Rush Limbaugh and they don't have the advantage of QAnon, they're really angry right now because at Sessions, right? And that's part of the show. Twitter, shadow banning prominent Republicans, not good. We will look into this discriminatory and illegal practice at once. Many complaints. So this is a tweet by Donald Trump. When he says that, that means it's going to happen. And I've actually seen some articles on this by Sarah A. Carter, sarahacarter.com. She's got, I think, 3 bombshell articles. I didn't have any time to watch TV, but you can see all today on the 26th. Jeff Sessions defends Rosenstein against GOP impeachment efforts. Jim Jordan announces run for the speaker. And then this featured article, why Rosenstein is being charged with high crimes and misdemeanors. And then there's a new one that says Jeff Sessions defends Rosenstein against GOP impeachment efforts. So 4 great articles just today, all by Sarah A. Carter. You can go look at it in more detail. So those of you who have more time than I do. Here's a meme that's kind of funny. It says, you're just trying to impeach me because I'm ending your pedophile cabal, but that's none of my business. As he was drinking that Fiji raw water. Remember that? There was just so much news to go over here. Jim Jordan announces run for speaker. There's a detailed article on it. I'll link all these in the bottom so you can go look at these in detail. Devin Nunes calls for ban on electronic voting systems. This will be huge. Getting rid of all the George Soros manipulated voting systems that we think are out there. And so that is to me, just a breath of fresh air if we can get rid of the corruptness that we're seeing going on there. That's not going to load, so we'll just skip that. Had so much news anyway, it doesn't really matter, right? Look at who follows Sarah Ruth Ashcroft. She's the one who came out about Tom Hanks molesting her at 13 years old. And General Flynn is following her, right? So that's just kind of some discussion about, hey, cool stuff. I don't think it was coincidental that she came out when she did. Good to know people able to deliver justice are paying attention. So that is this whole thing is just mounting in its momentum. And if you go to the Great Awakening subreddit again on reddit.com, you'll see there's this new, what on earth is the Q phenomenon? It just came out just a couple hours ago, and it's a 5-minute and 43, I guess, pretty, for the first probably positive or just factual information on QAnon. It's so you can go look at this. What on earth is the Q phenomenon? Here is also Dan Bongino has some great thing on Spygate, and he had a couple articles that I just wanted to point you to real quick. Twitter appears to be shadow banning prominent conservatives on the platform. There it is. And you can see that goes through some of the conservatives that don't even show up on searches anymore, right? And they're having trouble getting the blue check marks, all kinds of shadow banning going on Twitter, and they're going to get busted for it. Europe to purchase more soybeans as part of preliminary trade deal with Trump. And this is just awesome. So trade's improving, no tariffs, just shows the power of Trump and his brand, and I think the blessing God's given him. Last thing I'll show you is the net worth before holding public office. Trump was $4.5 billion when he started. Now he's only worth $3.5 billion. He spent $1 billion of his own dollars, right? His net worth's gone down. Obama were worth about $3 million when they came in. They're worth $40 million now. Clintons were worth about $500K before they came in. $100 million now. You can't get rich in politics unless you're a crook. Just a good example of what's going on out there. So, hey, follow me on Facebook. I have a new Facebook out there, Blessed to Teach. I think just passed 1,000 followers. Thank you for connecting me on this new Facebook page. I'll be posting a bunch of stuff there and surveys, etc. It'd be fun to interact with you more. Also, send me your memes, etc. Also to Twitter. So about 4,000 of you are following me there. So we really appreciate you just keeping the conversation going. Let's spread the word. That's my heart here, is to spread the word about the truth of what's going on. Let's flip over to a prophecy, and then we'll pray. I'm not going to be able to discuss with you guys because I messed up the whole pop-up window to be able to see you guys talking to me. So I do apologize about that based on the misfiring. But we'll do this and pray and wrap it up real quick. Now, this is a pretty long one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 paragraphs. This is probably one of the longest, prophecies that Sword Rescue did. So, I got some cool things in the mail when I came home. So one of the subscribers got me this hat. So I don't know if you've seen this yet, but this is the Q and Trust the Plan hat. So I think I posted a link to it on the Twitter and the Facebook. I'm not getting anything for this, I promise. It's just, I got a free hat out of it. I guess I did. But just thought it was really cool. It's embroidered. So that's what I really thought was really cool about this. So give this person some support that's going through effort here. I'm not even sure how much they're being sold for, but there's a link to her or his page. And then I also got this Uncle Sam, Killing Uncle Sam, the book I've been going over with you. This is actually a study guide. So I don't think you guys need it because I'm just using it to make sure I do a good job summarizing this book for you to really talk about what the New World Order really is. And then I think I showed you this too. I showed you this late last night where you can look at the trip codes, do a search on the trip code of QAnon. Make sure you're on books in Google books. And Q's pointed us to all these books: Alice Bloody Adventures, The Politics of Gun Control, The Judicial Politics, Restoring the Public, Where We Go One, We Go All. This is the interesting one. So what I did is I researched this, couldn't find any information on Dario Gardner. One of the QTubers was actually wondering whether it was even a real book. I went to Amazon, found it was a real book, and I ordered it. And I read through a third of this book called Mueller, Awakening. Some unknown author. To be honest, it's written like a 15-year-old. I mean, it's just not really well, written. There's just no question about it. It's written from maybe even like a 13-year-old type that just hasn't been in the world a lot, hasn't phrased a lot, obviously hasn't written a lot. But what was wild to me about this is there's nothing that says the date on it. There's this Dario Gardner. So this is what some people think, hey, JFK Jr. is, this is one of his essays or stories from when he was 13 or something. was what I think some people are thinking. But the only thing I found at the very back says, made in the USA, Columbia, South Carolina, July 23rd, 2018. That's just a few days ago. So this book just barely came out. I don't think I really recommend it, to be honest. I'm just doing it as research for me. It's probably only take a couple hours to read this book. But again, Mueller, Awakening, Q pointed to it. It seemed to be the one that closest mirrored to JFK Jr.'s story. It's kind of a pretty weird story, not well written. The grammar's bad, et cetera, et cetera. But just want to let you know I'm researching that, and I'll give you guys an update on when I get it. Let's go through this long prophecy, and then we'll wrap it up. This is Mark Taylor getting a prophecy on October 7th, 2015. All right, right before the year before the election. And that's what's so cool about this. It's a year before the election. This is nearly 3 years ago, right? And you see how spot on these prophecies are starting to come true. It's just crazy to me to look at these. So I'm going to read through this and maybe pause a few times to comment. The Spirit of God says, America, America, oh how I love thee. America, America, oh how I have chosen thee. For as England was to D-Day invasion, so shall America be for my end-time harvest. For England was the headquarters, the hub of which the D-Day assault was launched. So shall it be for my America, for the end-time harvest. For as England had men, women, equipment, food, money, weapons, and supplies of all kinds which poured in from all over the world, so shall all these things pour into my chosen America. America, I have chosen you as the launching platform for the worldwide assault on the spirituality oppressed peoples of the earth. People will say, how are we chosen? It's as if America is frozen. Am I not the God of the universe and all of creation? I have heard the cries of my people that have sought my face, and I will heal their nation. People will ask, how will I do this? I shall do this in 2 parts. I'm going to pause right there and just go back to say, boy, this is looking so true. The prophecies, he's got several prophecies talking about how America is going to be healed and be used for the end-time harvest to go really spread the gospel in countries that have never had the gospel really pushed all through them before, such as North Korea, such as Japan, such as Iran. It'll be really exciting to see how that happens. Now, I shall do this in 2 parts. First, the Spirit of God says, Army of God, out of the darkness, I command you to arise and take your place. For I have given you extra time, mercy, and grace. Go, go. Do not slow down. Begin to take and hold your ground. For there is no more time to waste. America will once again be the great light. The enemy will say, oh, the light, it shines so bright. There is nothing else left to do but take flight. And indeed, the sign will be a mass exodus in the natural, and the spiritual flee. Second, the Spirit of God says, the gatekeeper, the President of the United States is the spiritual gatekeeper. I have chosen this man, Donald Trump, and anointed him as president for such a time as this. Can you not see this? For even in his name, Donald means world leader, spiritual connotation, faithful. Trump means to get the better of, or to outrank or defeat someone or something often in a highly public way. This man I have chosen will be a faithful world leader, and together with my army will defeat all of America's enemies in the spiritual and in the natural. You will see it manifest before your eyes. I will use this man to shut gates, doors, and portals that this past president has opened. He will open gates, doors, and portals this past president has shut. My army shall not be silenced. They will begin to see he is the one I have chosen. They will begin to rally around him and keep him covered in spiritual support. And as you gain ground, they will say America is not frozen. The seeds. Why is no one asking me about the seeds? What about all the seeds America has sown since her birth? America has never received her harvest, for I will use President Trump and my army to bring back to America all that she has sown. This will be used for my harvest. America will prosper like never before in her history as a nation. All of the financial seeds you have sown around the world, food, clothing, 90% of my gospel that has gone throughout the earth has come from my chosen America. Her blood has been spilled on foreign soil to free the oppressed so that my gospel could go forward. America, your harvest is here. It shall parallel with your spiritual harvest in the natural. So do not fear. The Spirit of God says, the border is a 2,000-mile gate that's flowing across with demonic hate. I will use my president to shut this gate and seal it shut. It must be shut. Then I will use him and my army to root out evil structures that are still there, to the point that the government will begin to call on my army. They will prophetically locate these structures so they may be dismantled before any evil can take place. OPEC, take a hike, for I am tired of your evil energy spikes. Whenever my president takes office, you will shake and quake, and you will say, America no longer needs us. And that is true, for she will be energy independent for my red, white, and blue. For a sign will be given when prices go low, for a gallon of gas will be $1 and below. The Spirit of God says, Supreme Court shall lose 3, and my president shall pick new ones directly from my tree. Now, he's updated that to say 5, by the way. Are you still not convinced that he's my anointed and that he's the one I have appointed? Why can no one figure it out? The news media, the people, and the so-called wise. Why, when he's attacked, do his poll numbers rise? Those who attack him, their numbers go low, even to the point of a big fat 0. It's simple to see this man I have appointed, for in my word is your answer. I said, do not touch my anointed, especially my prophets. If you are still not convinced about what my word says, another sign will be given. It will be a warning to all, especially those who will not listen. The Spirit of God says, the sign will be El Chapo, your evil reign has come to an end. Who do you think you are attacking, my anointed? Turn yourself in and repent, and I will spare you. If you do not, you and those that follow you surely die a very public death for the entire world to see. For no one touches my anointed. I, the Lord, am an all-seeing and all-knowing God. I will be the one to disclose your location, the den that you and your vipers hide in. For time is short, and the spirit of death is at your door, and the world will see your dead body and the red shirt you wore. Wow, long one, but this was way back 3 years ago, a year before the election. We see pretty amazing things that this seems to just be unfolding before our eyes, as he talks about here. I'm going to wrap it up with a prayer here, guys, and we'll make sure we'll talk to you tomorrow night as I messed up on being able to see your live chat right now. But Heavenly Father, wow, thank you so much for just all the confirmations you're giving us. Lord, I do pray that if I've misinterpreted something there, you'll give me more wisdom and discernment to understand it. You'll give people that are listening to this right now more wisdom and discernment to understand what information is coming to them that's false and true. and allow us to, as a community of believers in you and patriots wanting to just understand truth and be able to let others know about the truth. Lord, please spread this news that you're giving us, this good news of the gospel, as well as the good news of the healing that's happening in this nation as evil is exposed and righteousness will be replaced in these leadership positions. Lord, we just pray for the safety of these children out there. We just heal them, rescue them, and heal them. Lord, we pray for the safety of our military and our military intelligence and the parts of the NSA and all the white hats out there and the government and the National Guard, Marines, Navy, Army, etc. And please protect the president and his administration and all the QAnon movement. We pray that you'll just allow people to really open the eyes to show what is true and what is false out there. Lord, most of all, please just continue to heal this nation. Continue to expose this evil. Allow us to have open eyes, but be healed and be able to really just be used by you. We're just asking to be used by you. How cool is that? To actually be able to join the Almighty God, the one true God, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Alpha and the Omega, to be able to join the one true God, the first cause in the events right now we see you interacting on. Your hand is on this nation, Lord. Your hand are on the patriots worldwide. We thank you for that. We ask for your guidance. We love you, Lord, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys. Exciting times, I'm telling you. The fact that he's going after the Federal Reserve and is now protected by God is just an amazing thing. The fact that they say a prayer about JFK every morning or every day in the White House is just amazing to me. And the fact that we now have what I believe is going to be considered the biggest sting in history, where people that people thought were on their side as part of the evil crew are actually going to help take these people down. So give me wisdom where I'm wrong, Lord, but wow, it's so fun to see this biggest thing in history actually happen. It's going to be such a glorious day, and the Second American Revolution and the Great Awakening happens. Thank you for this storm where you're going to come out and you're in control of it. Wow, how cool is this? So hope to see you next time. Hope tomorrow, depending if he posts. We're going to have QAnon post. This is July 26th.